Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I will be doing a little practice following her lesson, and I will focus mainly on two things. The first one is making sure that Hazel pays attention to me, and the second one is our transition downwards and upward. We're not really having any issues, but I just think that it can always get smoother and smoother as time goes along. So these are the two things I want to focus on today. The other thing is the weather that day wasn't really the greatest. It was really windy. Thankfully, the barn wasn't that cold and the wind didn't really affect us in the arena. She had, I think, one big spook, but that was about it. There was definitely a lot of wind though, like very violent winds out there. So first thing first, I always take care of my horse's hoof. It's the first thing that I do, because she is outside usually in the morning, and she collects a lot of mud and a lot of dirt, and sometimes a little bit of rocks. So it's always really nice to just make sure that it's clean before you do anything. Today I won't be focusing too much on the grooming, just because you've seen a lot of videos of me grooming Hazel, and also when I want to ride, I have to be mindful of who is online for the arena. We can't be a lot of people in there just because of COVID. So when it's actually free or you have enough time to get her ready and just hop on, then that's what I do. So I usually don't spend a huge extensive amount of time to just groom her in first hand. I just remove the patches of mud that might just be causing her some irritation. But other than that, we're just stacking on and riding. So as we know, spring is a wonderful season that's full of mud, and also horses are shedding their coats, so you have a bit of both that you have to deal with. As you can see here, she has a lot of like dried mud, which is like, you know, collecting, so you see a little bit of dust coming out. That is just dry mud that she has on her legs. She's having a fair amount of fun out there, I must say, just by judging by the state of her blanket. It's literally covered in mud. But yeah, that's part of horse ownership and horse life, is that they will definitely roll outside, and sometimes it happens to be in the mud. So I'm pretty lucky. Hazel is not usually that messy of a horse, so it's usually whatever sticks out of the blanket that needs to be brushed. So it would be the legs, the neck. Sometimes she has a little bit of mud in there, but other than that, she's fairly good. I've never really had to just go over the whole horse and brushed it because of the mud, so I'm pretty lucky. So you will see me rush a little bit, just because I do have to make it into the arena before some other riders decide to ride as well. On the weekend, it's pretty much free schedule, so that means first in, basically first out. So if you're the first arriving in the arena, well, you have the arena until somebody else joins along, and then with a maximum of 2. And then after that, people have to wait for the arena. So some weeks I spend literally an hour or 2 waiting for people to be done in the arena. So I usually go with the extensive grooming, the braiding and all of that. But that day it seems like it was pretty clear, pretty fair game, so I was really happy. There was just one person in the arena before us, and she was on her way out, so I was rushing to just make sure that I could actually get in there as fast as possible so I can maximize my time with Hazel. Some people like to ride with other riders. In our case, or in my case, I just like to have the arena to myself, just because it's it's a little bit on the smaller side of an arena, and my horse is big, so when it comes to sharing the arena, and then the stride length of my horse is definitely a little big for some other horses that are in there, so it makes it a little bit hard to manage 2 horses doing 2 different things in the arena if we're not sectioning it in half. So I find that by riding alone I can at least get some good extended trot, nice strides, and work on my stuff a little bit better than if somebody else is with us. Because it's a bit like the road, you have to be mindful of who's going where at what time and such. So that's why I really love to like have it to myself, but if not, I would rather, you know, ride with somebody else than not ride at all, for sure. So my tacking steps are always the same. So I do the hoofs first, clean them up real nice, then I put the leg protection, so boots and so on, bell boots, and then I will go on with my saddle, with my girth, and then in this case we have a standing martingale here, just because of our bit setup here, that would allow her to head bump me if ever we didn't have the martingale there. So really glad that we have it, and then I always finish up with the bridle, of course, just because it's a little harder to just tie up your horse after they have a bridle and the bit in their mouth and all that stuff. So that's the last step, and then I always take care of my stuff in the middle too, because I tend to always forget my helmet at the last minute, so I'm trying to include it in one of my middle steps, so like that I'm sure that when I'm done putting the bridle on, we can just go on and hop on afterwards. So yeah, really important. You want to make sure that you have your helmet when you go riding. So putting on the flash strap, and then I will grab my whip, and then we'll be on our way. Perfect, so the mounting block wasn't too much of a headache. And now just trying to get my reins together. I love the bit because it works really fine on my horse, but the 2 sets of reins sometimes get really tangled. And Hazel always wants to go right after I just hop on. So it's a little bit of a tug of war for a few minutes. And then after that we'll proceed to just a slow warm-up. So a lot of walk, a little bit of trot, and then we will be ready for action. So during the warm-up, I don't really have a plan or anything like that. I just make sure that she has a proper walk, and then a proper trot, and then I'm trying to also assess what's her mood of the day, and see how we can get her to just soften a little bit in her jaw and her mouth, to be ready for actual a bit more intensive work. So just to make sure that her mindset is with me, and then as well as her body's in top condition, make sure obviously there's no lameness or anything like that. And yeah, so I like to do these kind of things. Sometimes I work on the bend of the horse, making sure that she bends a lot. This time I was just working on a little bit of straightness by going through the middle of the arena. And I must say her straightness has improved like 110%. Like, it's not fully straight. I think the lines are still sometimes a little bit going to the left or going to the right, but most of the time she will definitely spin on a dime and get to the center line, and she would have it actually fairly straight. What I like also with the center line is I feel like it gets her more room to stretch into because it's a long line rather than having her go in circles all the time. So it's just a nice little change, and then I do like ovals, if you will, by going straight around the arena and in the center line and then switching to the other side. These are nice things that I can do just to switch it up, because a circle is always predictable, the shape is always the same, and after doing it for 6 months, Hazel pretty much gets the gist of having an actual perfect circle. We've done so many circles that I think both Hazel and I sometimes are on autopilot, so it's nice to kind of just change it up. So after talking with the person that leases Hazel, she said that she had a little bit of issues with Hazel doing side passes on a certain side. So I'm just doing some with her to just kind of double check that and see if there's anything I need to do for Hazel, if she needs to get adjusted or if she needs more practice, and just see what the problem is. I think in this case she just needs a little bit of practice. She used to really hate doing side passes, so I'm actually pretty glad that she is doing them really willingly now, and she's actually doing it pretty good. It's just that you have to get her to focus on going to the side, but other than that, she's pretty good. So one of the things that I like to work on is transitions, upwards and downwards, and I like to get them as smooth as possible. So as you can see here, it was pretty smooth from trot to canter. I think it could get a hair smoother than that, but she didn't fast forward or just went a little too forward before actually picking up the canter. She just picked it up and it was really nice. If you look back, you can see how smooth the transition was. And one of the things that I'm currently working on is, of course, getting Hazel to canter in a balanced manner, but also to get her to do straight lines as well. It is definitely a little bit difficult to have her do straight lines. She tends to really lean on your legs, either side or both, depending on where we are in the straight lines. But it's something that I have to work and just make sure that she understands. I think it's definitely fixable. We just have to work on it a little bit more. So here's the spiraling exercise or spiral exercise. So we're going into big to small circle and then back to big again. And that really helps with the bend, the flexibility of the horse. And I really like to do this type of exercise. I'm actually trying to get the circle, the smallest circle, as tight as possible and have her right in there, just because we're going to get her ready to do canter pirouettes, and you have to make sure that the horse is able to go and collect and go in a small circle. So here, same thing, same exercise. Still trying to get the circle as small as possible. On this side, I must say she was a little stiff. Her head kept on going up, so I had to really work my hands and try to lower that head in order to get to the tightest set of rings for the circles. So here we are once again at the canter. The transition was pretty smooth. I must say I have a little bit of an issue still with the transition from canter to trot, the downward transition. It's a little rough. I do feel like she extends her leg a lot. and I can't really get her to collect right away into the trot. So if you guys have any suggestion as things that I can do to improve that, I would be really grateful. So put it in the comment section down below. I would love to read what you guys do to help the downward transition from canter to trot. So I like to use the arena to the fullest and just use both half to do nice circles, especially at the canter. As you can see, the canter on this side is very, very light. It's really actually pretty nice, and I feel like I have a lot of more control on that side. So here what I'm trying to do is I'm actually trying to do a little like bobby pin pattern, if you will. So double circle at the end and then straight line on each side. I haven't been successful at that yet, just because usually when we go straight she breaks her canter, but I feel like once we will be able to have that pretty much down, I think she will be strong enough to carry herself all the way through straight lines and get her straight lines a little bit more improved, as well as having a bit more stamina, a bit more build to carry her canter for a long period of time. So here I did a couple extra circles here, just trying to bring her trot back. Sometimes I tend to see Hazel a little bit more excited when we just did some canter. She just kind of wants to go right back into it, but she's a little bit forward, so I want to just make sure I can get her back into her collected trot before we can do anything and move on to the next speed, because if not, it's just gonna be speed, 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 and more speed. So they definitely want to break that circle of speed. So I just want to make sure that she is with me before I ask her, just because she tends to really anticipate those moments, especially when we get the first one or two canter here. So that's definitely something I'm aware of. And then this time I really tried to do a little bit of the spiraling exercise and just try to get her to canter in a smaller circle and see what would happen. I was actually pretty glad that she did really good. One of the things my coach told me to do is to make sure that I stay off the walls as much as possible. Just because the spring will be riding eventually on the outdoors and there are no walls around us, so we want to make sure the horse is not bound to the walls or following the walls at all. So we're trying to just start doing our exercise a little bit more into the center of the ring. So same here, I felt a little bit of anticipation from Hazel. As you can see, her head just like went right up. So I'm just trying to keep her as collected as possible. And then you can see she went a little bit faster with her strides there. She just she's trotting, but she's trotting really fast. So I'm just trying to control that, trying to package it a little bit more, because she is going quite fast. And I do want to pick up a canter, but I want her to pick it up when I ask. So in this case, the canter was actually pretty effortless. It was pretty nice. It was a little of a strong canter for sure, but I was trying to see if I could get her to package herself a little bit more. And she did go nicely into circles for me, so that wasn't too much of an issue. So when I'm pretty happy with what Hazel gives me, I'm trying to plan ahead a little bit to just kind of do a little mini revision of what we've seen during this training session, and I just go over some of the things that we've done that I feel like needs a little bit of a touch up, or that she did really well, depending on what we're working on with my coach and such. These are the things that I will do, but if not, I'm just trying to get her to focus on something that we've already done that should be easy peasy for her, and just before we end the whole thing. So that's why I do a little bit of canter, a little bit of shoulder in, and just try to see if we are doing good. So another thing that I like to practice with Hazel is the exalt salute. So at this point here, I was really trying to make sure that I was actually on X, and asking her to just stop in the middle. Hazel tends to be fidgety and turning around and doing all kinds of things, as you can see right now. So it's a little bit hard, but I've read multiple times that the exalt salute is part of the evaluation. Part of the test, so you also have some point attributed to the exalt salute, and if you can do it properly, then you get bonus points. It's just easier for you to have a better score. So I want to make sure that I get those really practice as well. I still want Hazel to have her head a little lower, but it's not a big deal because she does stop at X and she is fairly square. I just want her head to be just kind of ready for the motion. So we'll see if I want to change that up. Usually I do it towards the end of the session just because Hazel's a little bit more focused on me, and then I have a better success at it. But maybe I'll try to just switch it up and do it maybe mid-session, or maybe at the beginning if I see that we have potential for that, so she can actually understand that, hey, we're just stopping there for a second and then we're going to pick up whatever and just go on from there, just because the test is just, that's the first part of the test, is just the exalt salute, so you have to have it properly. So that's it for this week's sessions. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and that you've learned something new, and hopefully something that you can do with your horse if you don't know what to do. Sometimes dressage is a little bit repetitive, but it's so much fun. So once again, thank you again for joining us in this super adventure today, and then I'll see you guys next week. Bye for now.